Because it is Pride Month and I am an ally. The greatest gay painter, at least in my opinion, in the 1900s, is Leyendecker, and I wanted to kind of learn how he did his thing because his paintings are immaculate. From his angular faces to just how he shows the bottomest of layers in his final piece, I wanted to try to replicate his painting method. So I tried to do that. First step was drawing a bunch of sketches and color studies, etc., which I did not do the color studies because I am a lazy piece of... So bro lived in the early 1900s, so there was no such thing as easy access to photos, let alone colored photos. So he had to grab a bunch of studies of his model so that he can do his thing and like release the model, because the model isn't gonna just stay there for several hours painting. Luckily, we live in the digital era, so I had already taken multiple pictures of my boyfriend in a very unlike him attire that I will not be showing you because he told me not to, and I'm a gal of my word. But is painting this realistic version of the photo basically just the same thing? Anyways, I wanted to give kind of the same vibes of this painting that Leyendecker did with this tie and such, and I don't know. I cheated and then took a photo and I sketched it even though I already knew what picture I was gonna use. But I just did it for hee-hee-ha-has because I wanted to try my best to replicate his method. So I brought this into the real dealio of paper, which was Arch's 600 pound or GSM. I don't really remember what measurement that was. But honestly, it's thick. It's a thick boy. Now, he paints with oil paints from what I have read online, but I don't like oil paints, or rather I'm afraid of the chemicals I inhale, so I opted for my trusty medium gouache, which it's less dangerous. I know he does like an underpainting glaze type of thing, which is somewhat brown from what I can gather in his paintings, so I just did a quick wash of brown, but later on I went over with a darker brown because it was too light. I also just recommend using acrylic for this step so that it doesn't reactivate when you go over it later if you do choose to use gouache like me. So when I started going at it with his face, I noticed that he makes his subject have very pigmented cheeks, which I already do, which is great, while the rest of the skin is like a yellowish greenish dull color, which what I imagine is what makes the red pop out more because, well, color theory. Eventually though, you will see me go over the yellow dull tone because I just didn't trust the process of that color, so I resorted to saturating the heck out of my boyfriend's whole skin tone to like this reddish tone, which I can't help it. I love warm tones. According to his method, he starts off with light washes of the shadow while gradually adding thicker, lighter tones to the painting. I also noticed that he has very angular brushstrokes throughout his subject. That being said, he resorted to mostly using flat brushes, which, my man, he knew it was up. This definitely helps with preventing from doing details from the very beginning, since I started with large flat brushes and then worked my way with smaller flat brushes. I kept going back and forth with the brilliant orange and that green yellow tone until I kinda sorta liked it. I think it would be a good idea also to have your reference in black and white so you can kind of just base it off of that instead of just trying to replicate the photo itself. So I did a light wash of the black in his hair and tie to make sure the black really popped out. I made sure to limit the true tone of the black in certain areas and not use the black to change the shades of my color throughout the rest of the paint. So I just resorted to using complementary colors to dull it out or make it darker. When it comes with the hair and clothes, I tend to start off with a darker color and work my way up to the lighter colors like he had said. And when you're trying to improve your painting methods, it's important to keep in mind of these small things that make your painting as great as the greats. And Skillshare is one of those platforms that help you elevate your art skills. If you haven't checked it out, Skillshare is a huge online learning platform designed with creatives in mind. It offers thousands of classes on topics like illustration, design, animation, photography, film, and even painting with gouache. Whether you're just beginning or you have years of experience, there's something to help you grow. What I love most is that the classes are taught by skilled creatives who know how to break things down in a way that's easy to follow and genuinely inspiring. It's not just about theory. Each class encourages you to create something, which really helps the lesson sink in and make the experience feel meaningful meaningful. One class I recently watched was Filmmaking Techniques, Camera Settings for Storytelling by Sean DeKink, and it's been a game changer for how I film my videos now. He talks about the basics of camera settings from ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and etc, etc. Honestly, I completely forgot what the aperture was for it. I always just used it to lighten or darken my videos rather than just using the ISO for that. Check out his class if you want to be more knowledgeable on the ins and outs of filming videos. So if you're trying to get better at filming or trying to paint like Leyendecker, give Skillshare a go. Skillshare has a 7-day free trial and a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive 20% off their first year of Skillshare. Get started today. And thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. The shirt was kind of difficult as I had a hard time figuring out the undertone that he used for his subject, so I was like, you know what, it looks green, so I'm gonna do that. For the wrinkles, I didn't make it exactly like the picture. I did the base of the bigger creases that were noticeable and freehanded the rest. Just as long as it looked similar, that's all that mattered. Somehow it ended up turning kind of like this greenish, brownish, grayish, but I overthought with the white highlights of his painting, so I kind of made it darker and darker and darker, and that's how I ended up here. I just wanted to make sure that it would accentuate with the darker tones of this shirt. And my favorite part out of all of this was the liner, because y'all know I love me some line work. I think that's what really brought it all together. That along with the highlights, which was very, very, very crucial for this painting. If you could tell from his original painting, he really accentuates the highlights in certain areas, even on his face, but I tried to minimize using white on faces. I added some details with a detail and line art brush, which I don't know if he used that, but at this point, am I even studying his work, or am I just saying that I am and just doing my own thing? Am I just painting how I paint? Anyways, another crucial thing to point out was the white background. He had seemed to add random strokes of white while still keeping the underwash visible, so I tried my best to go for that. And voila! I know it might not be the same, but I really enjoyed taking huge inspiration from his work, and who knows, maybe I can start making my boyfriend dress and pose to replicate some of his other paintings, or maybe just another artist. What do you think? Did I slay? Did I slay or did I slay? Anyways, if you watched this video long enough, you are a real one. And if you want to check out more stuff, follow me on here or Instagram, and maybe even check out my store, as I have a couple of how-to guides and whoa, even coloring pages. Whoa! Anyways, catch you on the flip side, and happy Pride Month!